Hello, everyone. And today we're going to talk about all types of activities and experiences that are out there for the young inventors. And we have Mary Cousin. She is from Chicago Toy and Game Group, better known as People of Play, and she is the president. And we have Erin Hoffman. She is the director of the Young Inventor Challenge. And me, myself, I'm a kid inventor. I don't think I'll ever grow up, but I've had the chance to be involved with many inventors and young inventors, and I'm happy to share those stories as well. So let's start off by just giving a quick introduction, Mary, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I entered the toy industry almost 30 years ago as an inventor, and I just fell in love with this community. Their inventors are the best. Like they're just really interesting and fun to talk to, and I love the way they create their creative minds. And so we started events to help inventors and also to promote play via our Chicago Toy and Game Fair. We have our Young Inventor Challenge, our Inventor Conferences, our Inventor Awards, and then the Chicago Toy and Game Fair has a lot of inventors that show their products to get feedback from
Great.
consumers.
And we're going to hear more about that in a little while. Thank you. And Erin, tell us about yourself and what you're up to with the Young Inventor Challenge.
Sure. Well, a little background on me. I started in the toy industry in 2007, and my background is really in child development. So I was able to work with Mary years ago on her fair and brought the Superpower Sensory Hour to her show for kids with special needs. So that's how we got connected, and it's sort of been, history from there.
Very nice. Well, for me, I've been an inventor for well over 20 years. I'm 50 now. I have 15 issued patents and I have a couple more pending. I've been involved in commercializing my own inventions, and now for the last 18 plus years had the opportunity to help other inventors commercialize their inventions. But this is more about the young inventors, and just from my experience there, I've had a chance to be involved in the classroom with working with the young inventors and kind of putting that and planting the seed. That's one of my articles that I wrote, which I'll share in a little while, planting the seeds of innovation to the kids out there. And I had a chance to do that and watch my daughter, who's now 22, grow up as a little inventor with her inventor notebook. So we'll get to that in a little while. So Mary, why don't we start off with you, and let's get a little bit deeper now, because I've been involved with your Chicago Toy and Game Fair. I don't know how many years ago. I think it was maybe 15 years ago, where I went into this event and I couldn't believe what was going on. There were booths of people that were showcasing their inventions. And then there was a whole section of kid inventors, young inventors, whatever you want to call them, that had some amazing displays of their innovation. And they were accompanied by their teachers and parents, I think I saw also. And I got a chance to also, as when I was hosting Got Invention Radio, I got a chance to interview, and I still have those interviews on those kids that are probably adults now. So if you could
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about the experience that you offer at your fairs.
sure. I think at least one of the kids that you interviewed worked for Spin Master for a few
Uh,
years. So we're very proud of that. Like a lot of these kids do end up going into the toy and game industry, and a lot of them get licensed. We have almost 12 kids that got their products into Target and other stores around the country. So we although that's not our main purpose, right? Like our focus is really getting kids to create and invent, and and the teachers love it because there's a whole curriculum around that. So, and it all started really very simply 18 years ago, 19 years ago. My daughter created a couple of card games for the school. She was in fourth grade, and she saw that other kids were struggling with fractions, and so she made a card game for them. And I saw her process of going through it and testing and the focus groups with the kids at school. And I thought, we need to do this at the fair. We need to do this for other kids. And it was an instant hit. Teachers really loved the experience, and I'm sure you need to talk about your experience in classrooms, Brian. Actually, we should probably segue to that because I love what you talked about in classrooms.
Thank you, Mary. Well, as I had some levels of success as an inventor, there were things that I was doing, and I had a chance to work with a ninth grade science teacher on Long Island, and his name is Richard Kurtz. I'm still very good friends with him, and he wanted to incorporate invention in his classroom. So he asked me to come in a couple times a year to get into the steps of the invention process with his class, and it was amazing. There were students that when you first started were like the tough guys in the back of the classroom. I'm not doing this, blah blah blah. And we started to go into the brainstorming, and that was really like the start. Is okay, you're doing all these things, and you know what, Mary and Erin, it's about the kind of like the journey of life and the experiences that you do every day on a daily basis. So you wake up in the morning, there's an alarm clock going off, you're getting ready for school, you're on the school, well, before that, you're in the bathroom, you're in the kitchen with breakfast, you're on the school bus most of the time, or you're getting driven by your parents or one of your relatives or whoever. Then all of a sudden you're in school, you're using writing instruments, you have notebooks, you have things in the classroom, you have to listen in the classroom, you have to watch, there's all these things. Then you're after school, you have sports, or maybe you're going home to do homework, you're watching TV, you're on the computer. How many different ways can you go on the internet these days with a tablet, a phone, whatever? So these are the things that are really important to make students and kids aware of, to say, you know what, there's so many things that you're doing on a daily basis. If you feel like something could be done a little bit better, maybe it takes you 3 or 4 steps to do, and you can find a solution to get it done in one without having to spin around in circles to get it done, and you just made your life and possibly other people's lives easier, then hey, guess what? You're an inventor. If there's something that really hasn't been invented, but you know, most of the time things are kind of a spin-off of something that already exists, but maybe it's not exactly the way that you see it, and it's something that's kind of real, something unique, then guess what? You're an inventor. So there's people out there and these students that, and they can come up with ideas, but they might not know what to do with it. So if we have the chance, which we're all doing, to be able to get into the classroom, to get into the student's mindset, to be out there to say, hey, there's no age limit for becoming an inventor. And this is what an inventor looks like. This is what you need to do. And we're here to help and support you. Then this is what we're meant to be here for. And this is why we're on this interview now, to be able to interview each other, to let people know that there's options and opportunity and experiences that are available for the young inventors. And I have a real fun experience of what I do when I go into the classroom to be able to talk to the inventors, but we'll get to that in a little while. If you don't mind me asking, Erin, with what you've been doing, what is the way that the inventors, the young inventors, get in touch with you? How did they know about your program?
Sure. Before I answer that question, I was just going to add to what you said, because I thought it triggered a couple thoughts for me. One is there's no bad ideas, right? There's no bad ideas. There's no wrong ideas. And I think that really allowing kids to learn from you and participate in the Young Inventor Challenge or other creative programs allows them, number one, to think of ideas that they believe to be new, but at the same time, they get to research it and see, is this new, or is this something I can improve, or is it already out there? That's one of the questions that we do ask the kids during the Young Inventor Challenge when they're submitting their products that they've created is, what research did you do, and what other things are sort of mimic or may look similar to your product, right? What may we see as judges that look similar to what you've created?
And it's interesting, right? It's interesting as they go through the steps. So when I discuss like the brainstorming, after that, it's okay, I'll come back when you have something. Yeah. And you are comparing what's already existing out there to what you came up with. And then we'll talk a little bit about the protecting your idea.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about commercializing your idea and how you can actually see it, feel it, use it, and can other people use it? Are you
Right.
going to sell it? Are you going to license it? These are the things that if they just know a little bit in the beginning to get them going, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And everything's created twice, right? I've said that to some of the kids before. First, you think about it in your mind, you know, you've imagined it, and then you can put it to paper, or you can put research to it, and you can see where it could go. So to answer your question about how kids can learn about the Young Inventor Challenge, or how do you know about it? Of course, going to shytag.com/YIC is the best place to find references and information about the program. There's a place to sign up for alerts so that you can stay on top of when registration opens, which will be this summer, where kids can sign up and they can register for the program. And this fall is when all of their materials and information and pitch videos will be due. So we do ask that all kids submit their toy and game inventions online in our virtual platform, where every child will be reviewed by a toy and game professional. And they are invited as an option to come to the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, which happens to be Saturday, November 9th this year, where the kids can come and pitch in person if they would like. And of course, attend the fair, which is a lot of fun.
That's great. And that's in 2024.
Correct. Yes, 2024. Okay. This August, we will open registration, and the end of October will be when everything is due. And then beginning of November is when the fair starts and when we will have the in-person optional pitching.
What type of products and ideas do you see out there? Are they strictly board games, card games? Are they bike accessories, kitchen gadgets? What do you see there?
I think Mary could probably speak to this better than I can. I've been a judge for quite a few years. Last year was my first year as the Young Inventor Challenge director. So this will be my first full cycle year of being the director. But being a judge for so many years, there are a lot of kids that submit games. So I always like to encourage kids to maybe think of a toy, if that's a possibility, because it will really make them stand out if they create something else. And I can tell you from being a judge a few years ago, I always think of this kid. He won. It was it was called Water Bottle Maze. And he created a water bottle that had a 3D print on the outside that had you roll a ball through it to get the ball from one end to the other. And his pitch was excellent. And he created the game because he spent a lot of time in the car with him and his siblings going to different sporting events. And they had to bring their water bottle, and they didn't want to try and remember something else. So he created this water bottle maze. And it was, it was a winner. It was a hit. It was memorable. And he did such a great job with his pitch and, the inspiration to why he created that product.
And everything behind it, or to start with, to get to that point, is really what molds them for being they already are an inventor, but molds them for going into these opportunities like you mentioned earlier, Mary. They work for Spin Master, they work for toy companies. It really sets the bar for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, sure. Mary, you've gone through with your daughter inventing the card games, and you've had a chance to see many people walk through the doors of your events. What do you feel like is almost like the trait of who's coming in, and why them and why not other kids? How can you get more kids involved?
We'd love to get more kids involved for sure. What's the trait? I think they're persistent. They really believe in themselves. In fact, there's this adorable video from the two winners of the Bet You Can't game. We asked them to give advice to other kids, and it was, when I say it was adorable, it was because one of them said, well, I've been an inventor my whole life, but I didn't, get into the toy industry until I was 13. Like, she really believes in herself, believes she can invent anything and make it. And that was her advice to the kids. Don't be afraid. Just get out there and do it. If you've got an idea, just do it. And I think that's what sets these kids apart. They're just doing it. And we've had apps, we have had toys, but it is mostly games, as Erin said. I think that games are probably a little bit easier for the kids. Although I think now with 3D printers, that might be changing a bit, because they're really been in the schools, right? A lot of 3D printing classes in the schools. But I love these kids. You know, a lot of the product acquisition execs from the biggest companies say that these kids present their ideas better than adult inventors because they get right. My name is this, and I invented this, and this is what it does. You know, like they're really that good. And we put them on television often because they just present so well. You know, initially some of the TV stations were like, I don't know, and you know, maybe you should be doing the talking, but the kids do a much better job. Their
That's awesome.
presentation skills are amazing.
That's awesome. When I was talking to you about what I do or what I've done in the classroom, I had a chance with that ninth grade teacher to do that many years. And I was talking about that student in the beginning who was sitting in the back going, this is whatever. He was so into it the fourth session that I went in there that I was like, is this the same kid that was kind of like not into this? I couldn't believe it. But what I also did, Mary and Erin, is I was running the inventor clubs in my county on Long Island. And once they finished their prototypes and as close to the working prototype that they had, I invited them to the inventor club in my county. And I invited their siblings, their parents, whoever wanted to come. And they had a chance to showcase their inventions in the county in my inventor club group. And it was amazing. They actually got from the county executive proclamations for their work. I loved it. And we did it for many years. And it was something that was special that the kids look forward to. And it was something different. It broke up the class traditional curriculum that they were doing to be able to have a hands-on experience of inventing something that was in their head. Not every one of them came to fruition, but just going through it. It's okay. I know that you found 10 of these out there after I searched it with you. It's okay. You had this issue. There was a group that had a sporting one, another one that had a travel one, another one. It was great. And that was a really fun experience. That was my ninth grade classes. Let me just go back and talk about going into the classrooms as my daughter was growing up. And I'm talking about as early as first grade. What I would do is I would go into the classrooms, and I did this up to sixth grade, and then I did it in some middle schools, and I changed it up a little bit. But this is kind of the basis of my Planting the Seeds of Innovation article that I wrote that I want to share out with everybody to be able to do these type of things. It doesn't have to be verbatim, but it could be a kind of it's flexible. Let me just share with you what I did, that I planted the seeds of innovation to these students that I never met before. Some of them were my daughter's friends, and then there were other classrooms that I did it. I didn't know anybody except the teacher wanted me to do it. So I would go in and I would say, hi, everybody. I'm an inventor. I came up with some unique inventions that you might see. I show them some of the inventions that I had. I had this snack container that I came up with that I wanted to have like a scooper and then you eat from it. So I had Elmo and Cookie Monster and all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I had my invention with. So that was a fun experience. And then I'd show them, I came up with this invention called the Balloon Band. I'd be like, hey, you've gone to an event before with Elmo or Cookie Monster or the Disney on Ice, and you made your parents buy that $10 Mylar balloon, right? And there was a point where you put it on your wrist. It was too tight, cutting off your circulation, or it was too loose, and it was up on the top of Madison Square Garden, right? Yes, that's me. I was crying. Okay. Well, I came up with this product called the Balloon Band. It's a nylon wristband that you put around your wrist, and you put the ribbon on this metal D-ring. So you can put it on, take it on and off anytime you want. And if you drop it, then the balloon doesn't fly away. It serves as a weight. So I go through those things, but then I say, okay, let's play a little game here. I have an inventor that has a product that is not selling that great, and she's looking for some improvements. And I would go around the room and I'd say, well, let me show you how it works. Okay, now tell me what you think could be done to make it better. And they would all go around the room and I'd say, oh, somebody said that one already. Come up with something else. I'll get back to you. Everybody came up with something unique and original to make that invention better. And I'd stop and I'd say, you know what? All of you are inventors. You just found a solution to be able to improve on an invention, whether it did well or it didn't do well. That's what it takes. And that was unbelievable. Like, that was so touching to me when people would be like, I'm an inventor, like they were so excited. I mean, you get different reactions depending on the age group, but that's kind of the experience. And then what I would do is I had this book that I loved. It's called Who Invented the Popsicle? And it had all kinds of interesting stories, short stories, but things that were interesting to the kids. So I'd call up the kid, who wants to read from it? So they would look at the table of contents, they'd pick something out. So there was gum, who invented Gatorade, who invented the pencil, mini golf, and they would read it. And they would sit down and the next one would come up. So that was fun. Then what I did was I took a pigskin football, and I threw it at one of the kids. Oh, right? That hurt. So that's a problem, right? You want to play football, but you don't want to get hurt. Here came the Nerf football. And if you want to play Nerf football in the dark, you have a lighted football. You want to have some noise to it? Here's one that makes whizzing sounds when you throw it. That's an evolution of something that somebody had a problem with. They wanted to play. A yo-yo. Go ahead. Let me see you do the yo-yo. No good. Somebody else? No good. Right? How about this? I took the yo-yo out. That was a automatic rewinding yo-yo. Then there was one that glows in the dark. Another one that makes noise, flashes. That's the development of coming up with something and improving on something to make it more fun, unique, or maybe brand new in the market.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my experience going into the classroom, and I love doing that. That was many, many years ago. Just watching my daughter grow up, and I always made sure to go into her classrooms too, because I got asked by other teachers to do it. My daughter, as an inventor, she would have their notebook and she would come up with ideas. And I told her, Alana, I'm so proud of you. Every time you come up with an idea that is already out there, even though you tried, I'm going to buy it for you. So she kept doing it over and over again. And then there was a point when she said, Daddy, I just invented this thing called the iPad. And I'm like, game over. We're done. Thank you for playing.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we could get a lot more kids to participate in a inventor challenge if they had that,
Right.
Parents that did that for sure.
So I just wanted to share with you, as an inventor myself, kind of growing up and watching my daughter and all these kids grow up. There's no greater feeling than to see their eyes glow, to have their parents call and say, you know what, that was inspirational. My kid has an invention. Can you help? That's all, so I want to share that message with other people for them to do the same type of experience for their kids.
Yeah. Well, people like you, Brian, advocates for kids to be creators, and our teachers that are, bring the Young Inventor Challenge into the classroom, and the parents that are homeschoolers, and individual families that participate. I mean, that is so significant to the success of the Young Inventor Challenge. One of the things that Mary and I are working on this year with our board as well is doing regional events. We want to focus on having more opportunities for kids to create throughout the year leading up to our November event, so that they know that this is out there, right? To talk about the question earlier, we want kids to participate throughout the year, maybe at their library, at their local independent toy store, at an organization, at their schools, club in the summer, whatever it may be. So we want to provide them with the tools and the resources and planning guide to implement these things in their neighborhoods that they can then submit in this fall to the Young Inventor Challenge and participate there, now that they've had all this opportunity to work with other kids and play test and create and think through their process and their invention. So
what does it look like then? If I have a kid that wants to be involved and I want them to have this experience of being an inventor or understanding what it's about, I end up finding, and I go to your website.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next? Like, what do I fill out that form? My kid's involved. Are we doing it as a group? a team, individually? What
Yep.
happens when I submit it? What's that experience like? How much support do you give through the steps of the invention?
Right. So it sort of depends on how you want to participate. If you participate in a regional event, then you're going to have a guided plan of creating and prototyping and play testing your product. If you do it individually, which is welcomed and how it's been for many years, right? This is our 19th annual Young Inventor Challenge. You would utilize the resources on our website, which anyone can use. There's student resources, educator resources, to review how other kids have presented their products and what might be some ways to think about in it and be inspired to create your own toy and game. And then you go through the process after you register to understand what you need to submit, which includes pictures, a description of how to play, a pitch video, of course, that's so necessary to talk through your product. And there's some other questions that are asked, you know, to really get to know how you came to your invention. And then it gets submitted and reviewed by toy and game professionals that judge through the Young Inventor Challenge.
Very interesting. Just that whole experience of the application, figuring out what you're going to do, how are you going to bring it to life? How are you going to prepare a pitch?
Mm-hmm.
What is it going to sound like? What's going to happen if I win? If I don't win? Just being a part of that whole experience, no matter what, they're a winner because they came up with something that they went through the process, whether it's commercialized or not. Just that's the most important thing is really that. And I keep saying it, the experience, because there's so many things along the way. You may not necessarily work at Spin Master, but you're going to be doing all these things. You're going to be a problem solution person. And that's what I became just going through this. Sometimes it's a little, I get into trouble because I pick on everything. I don't know if my wife and daughter like that too much these days, but I see things a little bit differently. And that's okay because I'm aware. And if you're in that zone, you can either improve your life or you can come up with an invention most of the time. But, you know, also to figure out, does it make sense? Is it only for me? Is there a big enough window of opportunity for other people to use it for the same reason that I came up with it? So these are the things that they probably get to work on, evaluate, and grow up, right? It makes them more mature in this mindset, I think.
I agree.
I agree too. And some of these kids have taken the feedback, gone back, changed up, you know, literally taken that feedback and implemented the changes into their toy or game and brought it back the next year. And we had these two girls, I think it's called Ship of Treasures. It took them 3 years and it was on their third try using all the feedback.
Wow.
So,
yeah, we had a winner last year in 2023 that submitted in 2022, used all the feedback he received and won in 2023. And he was thrilled. And we actually had him on one of our news segments earlier this year too. And his parents were just overjoyed at the fact that he won and that he was on the news. Like they were just, you know, absolutely thrilled about it.
That's awesome.
So I think that goes to show how important it is to take those criticisms and put them into place because, you know, you might think you're the best critic for your product, but you're really not. You have to show it to other people, right? And that's one thing that I've learned throughout the years is in my toy industry career, I've had the opportunity to have both adults and kids inventors ask me my opinion on different products. And I am very willing to share my opinion. If anybody knows me, they know I have no qualms about sharing my opinion. And so that's such a huge piece of being successful, you know, for your product that you're inventing is getting that feedback, even if it hurts.
That's right. And getting multiple people's feedback because we're all wearing different shirts. We all have different backgrounds and we like different things and not everything is for everybody.
Right.
So you just, that's the way the world turns.
Yeah.
We've all been involved in seeing inventors, young and old. And there are inventors that are watching and listening at all different stages of their ideas. Maybe they're just starting off. Maybe their parents are watching this and they want to inspire their kids, whatever it is. You've been involved in this industry in the kids' worlds these days. So if you don't mind just giving us some words of wisdom to the people that are in the audience watching and listening of what can make your kid an inventor, what the experience is like. Like you said before, Erin, you don't want to necessarily give up because maybe if it's not that one, it's the next one. So if you could just give us some words of wisdom quickly before we close out today.
Sure. So I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. If you got to play test, and play test again. I think that's one of the most crucial things to knowing your product that you invented, your toy and game invention, whatever it may be, knowing it from, inside out, but also being able to perfect your pitch. Because when you're sharing your product with someone, you're delivering the instructions or sharing the how-tos. And when you do that so many times, it becomes natural, or you understand where there's some flaws where people don't understand. So play test.
Thank you.
And not just with your family, right? Like you should, right? Because mom and dad are going to say, oh, that's great. But you want to do it with people who don't necessarily know you. That's why the school systems are really good, because they're students.
Right.
Your students in the class will tell you what they think.
Right. Peer to peer.
Exactly.
Well, send them to Erin. She'll tell you.
I will be
And Mary, what about you?
Not just play to test. I mean, I actually say that to new adult inventors, because a lot of the adult inventors that come to our program don't play test it, which always surprises me. And they don't always search the internet or go to a toy store and say to the shopkeeper, have you ever seen this before? That's critical. You'd be surprised how many people show up at our conferences with things that are already out there. So
thank you very much. So let's give the audience a quick one more shout out of what the events are and where we can find them and be able to sign up and get our kids involved.
You want to go, Mary? You want me to?
No, you're the director.
Okay. Well, so for anyone interested in the Young Inventor Challenge, we welcome kids from all over the country, anywhere. For the Young Inventor Challenge, it's shytag.com/YIC. Kids ages 6 to 18 are welcome to submit their toy and game inventions. Head to our website now so that you can sign up for alerts. But this August, registration will open, and the timeline will be end of October for submissions, complete submissions of your toy and game inventions and everything that's included in that. So all of your images, your pitch, everything will be due at the end of October.
Great. Can you spell that out in case people don't know how to spell Shy?
Yep, Shytag, CHITAG.com/YIC.
And just one more thing, Erin, you were talking also about some donation opportunities that are available if somebody did want to support the what you're doing for the Young Inventors.
Yes. So the Young Inventor Challenge is generously funded by sponsors, but also by individual contributors. So during the month of May in particular, we're doing a May I Help, Yes You May campaign for the Young Inventor Challenge, but the donation link will always be up at that same website, shytag.com/YIC. If anyone is interested in supporting our Young Inventor Challenge, which will help us with scholarships, it will help us with the resources, it'll help us with the actual event, and of course, the platform that the kids use to submit all of their wonderful and amazing and inspiring inventions.
Awesome. Thank you both for joining me. And this was a fun roundtable that we did, just kind of sharing our experiences and what's available for the young inventors out there. And we should definitely do this again very soon.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Get involved. Help those young inventors, inspire them, and keep their ideas moving forward. Thank you.